Hey there, PlatformCon. In conversations around platform engineering, oftentimes two things pop up: the internal developer platform and the internal developer portal. And not only do they pop up in discussions, oftentimes they are mixed up with each other, leaving people in a lot of confusion. What are the advantages of a platform? What are the advantages of a portal? Which one is better? Do I even need to make a choice between the two to be successful in platform engineering? I am Suzanne Daniels. I'm with Port, which is a no-code internal developer platform. It's a SaaS solution, and you can check it out if you want to. I'm here today to not really talk about internal developer portals. I'm here today to show you, because there's enough talk already. So let's dive deep into what an internal developer portal can actually offer you and how it can work together with your internal developer platform and thus boost your platform engineering initiatives that you have in your company. But first, let me explain very shortly how the IDP and the IDP can work together. There's 4 pillars making up an internal developer portal. The first one is maybe the most obvious one, the software catalog, the place where all of the things that your engineering organization builds, operates, manages is in one software catalog, so that everybody in your organization is to find the right information and also contextual information. It's important to know where's the documentation and who's running on call, have direct access to dashboards and other valuable information. A software catalog helps you with that. Especially relevant for you platform engineers out there. Self-service. See it not as a tool to replace all the tooling that you have already. See it more as an interface, putting the power of what you have built into the hands of developers. All the engineers in your engineering organization. Anybody who needs to spin up services, do day-to operations, you can give them a beautiful customer experience with an internal developer portal. So self-service is not a functionality to replace the tools that you already have. It is to add another level of abstraction. Then there's the scorecards, because being able to deploy fast is really good. Everybody wants that. But we also all want to have an application which is deployed according to the best practices, regulations, and other requirements that you might have in your organization. Now, being able to see how well your application holds up according to those best practices, that's a really powerful thing. And it will enable everybody to do their best to get their application in the so much desired golden state. Then there's the workflow automation. And I know we all love automating all the things. So in this case, your internal developer platform and the internal developer portal should be able to exchange information and respond to events happening. Being able to integrate deeply between these sorts of tools really helps getting a better experience with less effort. But how does this all operate? Well, first of all, an internal developer portal and an internal developer platform, they go well together. A portal is not to replace the tooling, it is to add another level of abstraction, to build the best developer experience out there, so that they will love your products that you've built, even more than they probably already do. So see it as the portal sitting on top of your internal developer platform. And just add to that all of the other tooling that you might have around observability, doing FinOps, and whatever ops. So you could say that an internal developer portal and an internal developer platform go together like 2 slices of grilled bread with ham and cheese. If you look at the ingredients, they're all pretty good, but when you put them together and throw them in that grill, it's a much better experience. But Susanna, you promised not to talk too much. That's true. So let's dive into a short demo. I've prepared this one. It is based on the Spring Pet Clinic solution. So this is the application that we will roll out. I will import all the information into the internal developer portal. I will get the information from my GitHub monorepo, and I will add to that our running services, clusters, namespaces, all of the things into the developer portal. And this is what the architecture somewhat looks like. Okay, let's go. So what I'm gonna do now is I am gonna use some YAML files, which I will place into my repository. It's a monorepo. I can also choose to use the GitHub app, which will also support this scenario. But let me create a file. Now this is just my preferred way today. So let me create a file. There you go. So this contains all the metadata of the services that I want to import. They're all here in this setting, somewhere down, way down here in this monorepo. And I put in the relationship. So this relates to the visits database, which is on my SQL server, and it's listed here below. And it also relates back up to the visits service. Okay, cool. Let's commit these changes. Name it port.yaml, and here we go. Of course, this is a best practice to deploy files in this way. Where do all these services end up? Well, they end up in your service catalog, as you can see here. This is the visit service, customer service, and vets service. The way that it works is that your software catalog, one of the most important ingredients there is the data model. It is important that the data model matches what you would expect in your company. So because it contains every resource that you have, and not every company is the same, you can build with these little building blocks we call blueprints, your own catalog, your own data model. So a blueprint, you can compare it with, I would name it rather a custom entity definition. So the types of entities that you have, you define them here, and you build the relationships, for instance, here. So as you can see, there's already some things in there. I integrated also with GitLab and GitHub here. So it will read and it will populate everything and build these relationships here. So that will provide already some value to our developers without even doing something. But looking at an application from this view, you have this service and you're working on it. That's not that realistic. So what I want to do is bring in something, and that is the application environment, which runs on Kubernetes. So I'm gonna use a template that is built in this case. So it will already create these blueprints and the relationships. So I'm not using Argo. I'm sorry, because of time, I think I'm not gonna make it to add that. But I can show the Kubernetes one. So let me copy this one. The only thing I need to think of is to change the name of the cluster to AKS Pet Clinic, because that's the name. And it will install the Port Kubernetes exporter, which is open source. You can find the repo at port labs. So it's running. So you can see it running here for 16 seconds. That's reassuring. So what will happen now is that the blueprint will be created inside of the portal, and it will now populate the service catalog. we started out like this, and now if I scroll a bit up, my blueprints have been added and they are related to each other. They're not yet related to my microservices, but we can set that up later. Let's first take a look at what was actually imported. Let's start at the cluster level, diving in right here. So here is are the namespaces. You can view the nodes, you can view the workloads that are running, and even down to the pods. So if I click any of these items, I will dive a little bit deeper into this application. And also, if I click the graph button here, it will show me some useful information, how things relate to each other. As you can notice, Kubernetes is really great. There's a lot of data, also all the tooling around it. But as a developer, or more broadly as an engineer, I'm not always interested in all that data. So the thing that we try to do, and we think it's a good idea, to abstract it and only show the information which is valuable at a given point in time. Okay, so we have all the stuff in here. We have our pods, the application is running, and we have the microservices here, which is more, there you go, which is more static. It's more of a developer view. So we want to add something, which is a running service to hook those two up to each other. And for that, I will go back to the builder view. And we're back in the builder. I'm gonna add a relationship here, which is related to the workload. As you can see, now it's coupled. And we have a running service, and that running service is in a certain context, which is the environment. So that could be an application, which you have the repo for here in microservices, and it's running in production somewhere here on your case cluster. Of course, I've prepared it a little bit. So if I go to the service page here, this is the running service, and I go to the graph, I can see how this all relates to each other. Okay, we head back to the builder. Here is the microservice blueprint. I'm gonna add an action to it. As you can see here, this is one to deploy the Kubernetes environment. Now, how this works is, in this case, it kicks off a workflow on GitHub Actions, as you can see there. So I'm gonna change this one and add an action which is day 2 self-service capability, which is deploy a pet clinic service to some namespace that you want to deploy it to. So if we take a look here, hopefully it will show up in a little bit. There you go. So this is the day 2 operations. Okay, let's delete this deployment visits service. So hopefully when I take a look, it will be gone. At some point, it's terminating. Okay, I will believe that this will work out in the end. Okay, this is what self-service looks like. So this is a very friendly form. I'm gonna deploy a microservice, which is the visits service in the namespace, which is Spring Pet Clinic, in the environment production, and the service name is visits. Okay, here we go. It is now executing. So this will kick off a GitHub action, which I will show you. It should be somewhere here. And it is running. And here we go. This is a success. Now switch over to the terminal. And it is running. Wow, we have ingested information from GitHub, from our running Kubernetes cluster. We've tied that all together to create a comprehensive view for anybody in the engineering organization to understand what is running, where, how it's running, how it's related to each other, and really empower everybody in the organization to leverage the infrastructure that we have using self-service actions. Thank you so much for watching this. If you want to play around with Port, you can go to getport.io. There's an open demo. You don't have to register, and we have a free account. If you have any questions, please reach out in the chat. I'm there. See you around.